There's been a lot of confusion from patients, practitioners. Are they talking about what we're using?
The problem is the lawmakers then are lumping in legitimate, licensed, inspected compounding pharmacies across the country and implicating them kind of with the same...
Lumping us all in together.
That's the first step to take away the opportunity and the medical freedom. All of a sudden, now that the emergency's over, we're somehow unsafe. No, we're unsafe.
Yeah.
We're dangerous. And
hey everybody, Dr. Terri here, and I'm pretty excited about this episode today. I've got Dan Denai, my amazing husband and CEO of our companies, in the studio with me, and he might be a little on fire today. This is a lot been happening over the last few weeks with regards to medical freedom, especially around peptides, GLP-1 medications, and just general compounding medications in general. We're also going to kind of break down what's happening at the FDA, really explain and give clarity around some statements that have been made by our FDA Commissioner Marty Makary, and just kind of really educate you, the consumer or clinician, because there's a lot of misinformation out there right now that's lumping all of us good players in with some of the bad players. So if you've been hearing rumblings around compounding GLP-1s, FDA commissioner saying these are counterfeit drugs, and even President Trump saying, well, what about these counterfeit drugs? We're going to clear all that up for you today. Join us in the conversation. Hi, welcome back.
welcome back. I'm here.
I know. I like it when you come in because then we can talk about stuff that we talk about at home over dinner, and then we're like, we need to talk about that on the podcast.
We're going to talk about that?
This.
I'm kidding. Hey, can I warn the audience right away that this podcast might get a little aggressive, but in a good way. More
passionate.
That's a much better word. That's a much better word.
Because we are very passionate about truth, real information, medical freedom, which you can't have medical freedom without the truth.
Correct.
Real information.
Correct.
And there's a lot of confusing information out there right now. And one of the things we were talking about last night that I really want to break down because it's causing a lot of confusion is this tweet by FDA Commissioner Marty Makary that talked about how he will not support the mass marketing of counterfeit drugs. I agree with that.
100%.
Do you agree with that?
100%.
But the question mark in everybody's mind is, well, what are counterfeit drugs? And there's been a lot of confusion from patients, practitioners. Are they talking about what we're using, et cetera? So I kind of want to just take this time, you being the CEO of Pharmakeo Network of Pharmacies, which are 503A, FDA inspected facilities, compounding pharmacies. But I want to talk about that just to clear up all of this confusion around compounding medications, especially the GLP-1s, because that's the big hot ticket item right now.
So counterfeit drugs, they keep throwing this term out there. And, you know, the Eli Lillys, the Novo Nordisk, Big Pharma, people that, have the commercially named drug, they keep using this term like counterfeit drugs. Well, let me just kind of break it down for the audience. You have what we would call the gray market or the black market. These people are people that are importing API, active pharmaceutical ingredients, from whoever knows where. Facilities aren't inspected. There's a list called the green list that the FDA says these are approved importers that you can buy API from. These people over here, the gray and the black, or the gray and the black market, they're not doing that.
Yeah.
They're and then they're going to the market. They usually do it through telehealth platforms. Your doctor may be in Mexico somewhere, but has a license in the United States. I agree 100% with what the commissioner was saying from a standpoint of counterfeit drugs. The problem is the lawmakers then are lumping in legitimate, licensed, inspected compounding pharmacies across the country and implicating them kind of with the same,
lumping us all in together.
with the same, and that doesn't just affect the compounders, that affects the practitioners that are writing those legal scripts that they know will help their patients specifically from this compounded medication, whether it's a GLP-1, whether it's a peptide, whether it's desiccated thyroid. Any of these types of medications are compounded medications. Well, you want those compounded medications to come from a reliable source. Well, the reliable source is a good compounder that's getting API from a green listed manufacturer or importer. So keep that in mind. So what happens then is this kind of ambiguity gets sown into the marketplace, and the Big Pharma starts running to, which they're doing right now, they're running to the boards of pharmacy, they're running to boards of medical boards on the state level saying, oh my gosh, we have these big problems. You got to change these laws. You've got to add these laws, add these restrictions, add all these, more regulation. And we're like, well, we are already regulated by FDA. We're regulated by state boards of pharmacy, but they make it sound like there's this big problem and we're getting lumped into it. And ultimately what that's going to happen, and the reason why I'm very, what did you call me?
Passionate
About it, is because that's the first step to take away the opportunity and the medical freedom, which I know you preach all the time, for practitioners to effectively treat their patients on an individualized basis. That's where medicine should be. It should be on an individualized, case by case. But what has happened with Western medicine is everybody gets the same dose, everybody gets the same medication or a variation of that. It's for the same duration. And I've said it on this show before. I've said it in a lot of conferences that I speak to physicians at. That is just ludicrous because we are genetically different. We are different from a standpoint of our lifestyles. We are our
how we metabolize
where do we live in the country? What things have we been exposed to over our lifetimes? Where have we lived in the world over our lifetime? So those are the things that when we're talking about this kind of stuff, it's like, I want to be like, people wake up. And what's neat about it is our coalitions have come together. Our practitioners, our network of doctors out of Vexapel.com are all banding together. But I will tell you what makes the biggest difference. Yes, because we have 10, 15,000 doctors in that network, but it's when their patients get active. And so if you're listening to this and you know your practitioner, and we communicate, by the way, with practitioners all the time in our network, getting just the voice of the people to the lawmakers, the legislators is key. Absolutely
it's important
key.
Because that's what, I was even just talking to somebody the other day that has a, medical practice in their state, the things that are happening at the state board level and at the legislative level to disallow compounded medications nobody knows it's happening, and they're not going to know it's happening until all of a sudden they can't prescribe anymore, or their local compounding pharmacy has been closed down, or a compounding pharmacy like yours can't get a license in that state anymore because the state has put new rules out, and it is insidious and it's based on misinformation. It's pharmacy, and you already said it once now because you named the companies. I'm going to talk about it.
You can.
Lilly and Novo going to legislators at the state level because they lost the fight at the federal level.
Absolutely.
Right? So they're smart and they're crafty, and that they're going to go to the state level. And this is the beautiful thing about the independent United States is laws are different from state to state. And so they're attacking it at the state level. And what it's going to end up being is not just, and they're really going after it so compounders will stop making GLP-1s, or legislators will stop allowing compounders that make them in other states with licenses ship them into their state.
Yeah, what you're going to find is a lot of the states that will say, we don't have any problem compounding this in our state, but as soon as you start sending it to another state that doesn't have the same mindset, then you just can't do it. So you're going to end up with people in one state having access to personalized, individualized care. And just think about this. If you're in a state, we're in Texas, and we're able to treat patients the way that we want to, but you have a loved one, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your uncle, whomever, is in another state, and you're like, I'm getting this stuff. And I will say this happens in California all the time, because California is anti-compounding. They're anti-individual medical treatment, medical freedom, but more individualized stuff. They're California government leading governors and government board. They're all tied into Kaiser. They're all tied into Big Pharma.
Yep.
And so compounders are leaving the state in droves. So what you're going to find out is the poor people of California, and we talked to them, by the way, we talked to hundreds of their practitioners at different conferences and so forth. They're like, we don't even want to try to practice medicine.
I've met doctors that have left the state because they didn't want to practice medicine there anymore because they were so restricted in being told, which blows my mind that nobody sued the state, because it's corporate practice of medicine. When you're telling a doctor how he or she can make decisions in their patient care, that's corporate practice of medicine. I don't know.
Well,
why
let me
it's not
tell you
been
something
taught.
interesting about the California laws, because I've had to deal with them before, is even though you may win in the court of law, the way that their bylaws are written, they don't have to even...
The pharmacy board.
Pharmacy board doesn't even have to obey it.
They govern them.
They govern themselves.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, I'm the jury, the judge, and the executioner all in one. That goes to that state being much more socialized, and socialized is just one step away from communism.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, and this
New
is what
York's
I'm saying.
heading that way.
New York's almost exactly the same way. But you know who suffers is the people. At the end of the day, the people. And again, I told you I was going to be enthusiastic about this today, but it's because I've been dealing with a lot of it in the last 2 weeks.
Well, when I just went into your office to tell you we were ready, you were on a call about this. I know this is what you're sleeping it. It's all the time. But I want to pull the lens back a little bit, because we're talking specifically about GLP-1s. And there may be people listening who's like, oh, I don't care about those drugs. I'm not on them. But compounded medications aren't just GLP-1s. No. They can be, compounders, your local compounding pharmacy. Let's say you have a elderly family member that needs a medication for her heart to keep her alive, but the Big Pharma doesn't make it in a form that she can swallow, or maybe she can't swallow it, needs to be put into whatever. Compounding pharmacies can compound that same exact medication in a format that person can tolerate, can consume. So it's not just about the things that we're passionate about with hormones and thyroid and GLP-1s and peptides and all of those things. Yes, those are big, but all compounded medications. So
do you know that Eli Lilly was a compounding pharmacist? The person, Eli Lilly.
Every pharmacy was a compounding pharmacy before there was Big Pharma.
That's where Big Pharma gets their drugs, started from this. So what we do, or what happens when legislation comes and really tries to over-regulate. I'm for regulation. I'm for good regulation. But when they come to over-regulate pharmacies, they're harming innovation in drugs and in therapies and in things that a practitioner can utilize to really make a difference 100%. In some of the. I can tell you that, I'm going to just tell you this right now. Personal story. Every now and again, when I lift weights, I will get what is kind of like it's like tennis elbow, right? It's just this sore tendon. It's a tendonitis in my right elbow. And I'm telling you, it becomes painful to pick up, something extended, and I pick up a glass of water and I'm trying to bring it up, and it's just painful. Guess what? 3 simple injections of BPC 157 into my elbow. All I need is 3. They can be one day, skip a day, another day. It's completely gone, and it stays away. I had this flare up a couple of weeks ago, and I'm sitting here going, geez, can't even get BPC 157 anymore. Yep. I have my own compounding pharmacies, and I can't make this, but I know it works. How frustrating it is that happens, and that should not be happening in our country.
Well, and the other thing too, so besides this sneaky legislation at the state level.
And by the way, my elbow hurts right now.
Yeah, well, because you need some BPC 157 in it. Yeah,
and irritating.
Because besides the sneaky legislation at the state level, and what it can do for disallowing compounding and impacting patients and practitioners' choice of medications and medication modalities and all of the things that compounders do. I mean, compounders actually individualize medications for patients that doctors write. And one of the things that I heard Marty Makary say from the stage at HHS is the government has to get out of the clinician's office with the patient. And he's exactly right about that.
100%.
One thing I hope he does is clarify his tweet, but at any rate, it creates a lot of confusion. But the other thing it does is it kills local businesses. I mean, these compounding pharmacies are providing jobs. They're providing jobs. I mean, our pharmacies provide jobs for many people, hundreds of people. Yeah. So when you're going to shut down a full industry, it impacts economics. It impacts medical freedom. It has a ripple effect.
Well, and most importantly, patient outcome.
Yeah, and patient outcomes.
Think about that from the standpoint of if you're taking all of those things away, you're taking option away from this, option away from that, option away from this, option away from that. Pretty soon you're back down to stuck being, well, guess what?
I'm on the pharma hamster wheel.
You're sick and tired, and you're sick and tired.
Yep.
And that's where we say this all the time. That's what Avexius is all about. It's what Pharmakea is all about. It's our companies is about making sure that people don't have to continue their life being sick and tired. When you look at the national average of people's lifespan, the lifespan of people being on medications is greater than the lifespan of them not being on medications. So they're starting medications, lifelong medications, 20s, 30s, 40s. And here again, great for big
younger
pharma,
than that even.
Great for big pharmas. Yeah, we could get into childhood things, but medications and things that they get stuck on early on. But there you are with the big pharma doing well, and it's great for them, but it's not good for the individual. And I really honestly, and I'll tell the audience, at times get weary of it because it's like you really think you're making great progress, and then all of a sudden, somebody rears its ugly head. I do want to say something too, because this is hot off the presses yesterday when they announced the Trump RX program to get these most favored nations pricings down and further down like that, which is great, by the way. And by the way, I will say this: I'm not against commercially available medications. Right. I think they have
not against big pharma.
Not against big pharma. A lot of times it sounds like I am,
like it,
but I'm not. I'm just saying you can have I'll say your audience, your people that want to do and take your products, but then just don't take away the people that go, no, I would like to have some options. I'd like to have some things. But one of the things that came up yesterday in the Oval Office was the Novo Nordisk representative there was standing there, and he made the comment, because Trump asked him, he said, now what about these counterfeit drugs? I think is what they call them, the knockoffs. Trumpism, the knockoff drugs. We don't like the knockoff drugs. And what he's referring to is kind of the gray market type of thing.
The research only
stuff. Research only peptides. Why would somebody put that on there? Or not for use in human consumption. Well, and yet I have friends, personal friends that are like, I'm still taking it because I like CJC 1295. I'm like, you're foolish, but I can see why you're willing to take the risk, because you see some of the benefits. Still, to the audience, I would tell you, not a good idea to do that. But one of the things that Novo Nordisk person said was, he looked right at Trump and he said, when Trump asked him about the knockoffs, and he said, the API is not, their active pharmaceutical ingredient is not FDA approved.
That is a fat lie.
Nobody's API is FDA approved.
Exactly.
Mine's not.
Another misinformation.
The pharmaceutical Novo Nordisk is not. And so that is just a flat out misinformation. But Trump doesn't know. He's sitting there, and and neither does anybody else. And
so they're not going to contradict him.
So they're going to be like, oh my gosh, then we really do need to take action against these compounders. Yeah. So it's that kind of thing that when you dissect and pull it back, you go, what the big, because they're trying to make it like there's this big, huge, people are dying left and right from taking GLP-1s.
Where are the bodies?
Exactly. I say it all the time.
Where
are the bodies? Where are the bodies? I finally figured out where the trauma is and where the fire is. The fire is that Novo Nordisk is down 17% on their stock price.
Now, what does that make them worth?
That's I'm not going to say that Eli Lilly made $19 billion in the fourth quarter last year. That is, it is. And again, you say it all the time. It's the back of the hand of capitalism, where we're all capitalists. We believe in it. But at some point, when it starts infiltrating into government entities, it becomes a collusion, and it becomes harmful to one group of people and one group of people only, and that is patients. And that is the part that we are so effectively and adamantly in opposition to.
Yeah, and I just want to repeat that all API, no API is FDA approved.
Correct.
If he was telling the truth, there are some manufacturers of API that haven't been FDA inspected.
Correct.
But those are not the green light ones that you were green list manufacturers that you were speaking to. The green list manufacturers have been FDA inspected, and so those importers have actually been checked off by the FDA. We've inspected, and yes, we say they are a good importer. But their API has not been FDA approved. So is it fair to say that the API for Lilly and Novo Nordisk's products could come from the same, the compounding pharmacies get the API from the same place?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm trying to say.
We went to pick your grocery store, whatever, and they picked the first bag of sugar off the shelf, and we went behind them and picked the next bag. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, yeah. And that's what's misconstrued in the marketplace. So, can just a little bit more about compounding, because I think this is where legislators and so many people don't understand what compounding pharmacies are, just from the history of compounding all the way to now, and why it's important. There are people that actually think compounding pharmacies are something that's just happened recently with people trying to get in the game of pharmaceutical. You already said it. Eli Lilly was a compounding pharmacist first and foremost.
Correct.
So what's happened here? I mean, I know the answer, but I just want to hear your passionate, eloquent explanation of what's really going on. Say it in the truth way, not roundabout way. What is happening, and why is there this attack on compounding?
Well, it's, I think, multifactorial. One is it's a revenue. I mean, it's a dollars. You say it all the time. In medicine, it comes down to politics and money. Yeah. I mean, that's again a sad but true statement, and that's why I love your audience. I love the doctors that that are in our network, because most of them, not all, I will tell you, understand what we're really about, what our passion is. And when you talk about the issues with or what's happening with compounding pharmacies, I say this all the time. There are good lawyers and there are bad lawyers, and there are good accountants and there's bad accountants, and there's good doctors and there's bad, and there's good home builders and there's bad builders. It goes on. Any industry. I will say it's the same thing in compounding. There are good compounders and there are bad compounders. And the problem is, if it was so bad, again, go back to that statement we just said, where's all the bodies? Where's all the people that are harmed? And you would have litigation out the wazoo of people that, oh my God, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen. There are adverse effects to any medication. How many times have I said it? The only difference between poison and medication many times is the dose. Yep. Right? Go take aspirin. You can take 2 or 3 for your headache, but don't take the whole bottle because you'll die. Right. It's the same thing with anything. Same thing with the compounded medication. Right. Compounded medication can be taken properly or improperly. The problem is when you have a behemoth, leviathan like Big Pharma that has forgotten patient care and is all about profitability. That's all they're going to worry about, is just continuing to protect their profitability, their bottom line. And that's where a lot of this stuff with compounding comes in, because they just keep pushing more and more people out. And they're getting really smart, because they're using, you said it earlier, on the state level. They figured out the federal level, they're really not going to be able to do much, because all the compounders, the good ones, are following the rules,
right?
And helping thousands, hundreds of thousands of patients. So
I think that what I'm hearing you say is it basically boils down to money, because until the GLP-1s, compounders were just kind of a little gnat around.
I honestly don't think that Big Pharma even knew what compounding was.
That's what I'm saying.
Because that's why when the GLP-1 issues first started coming out, they were suing compounders left and right and losing left and right.
Can I ask you a question?
Because I don't think they knew what even was. Compounding was actually was.
Who picked up the slack when those companies couldn't make their medications because the API was on shortage?
Yeah, compounders. Absolutely.
So everything was all good.
Exactly.
We were good enough to make the medications then, but now all of a sudden
don't get me started on that one too, because go to COVID.
Yeah.
Do you know, if it was not for compounders during COVID, that this country would have suffered far more, because what happened is, when a lot of those big contracting companies, a lot of the big pharma companies, where they weren't letting any of their people go in and work, and there was just all kinds of restrictions around that, and they were running out of medications.
In the hospitals.
They couldn't do surgeries. They couldn't do dental work.
Lidocaine, no IV solutions.
And guess who stepped in?
Compounders.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And they said, okay, Congress passed this emergency act. Well, we damn well did it during the emergency, and we did a great job. But now all of a sudden, now that the emergency's over, we're somehow unsafe. No, we're unsafe.
Yeah.
We're dangerous and things like that. So again, I'm very excited, very enthusiastic, I won't say emotional about it, but it is something that people need to be aware of.
They need to be aware of it for sure. And like you said it, I was saying, I think before GLP-1s, compounders were just like a whatever, who cares? There's just some little guy down there not bothering me. But because we picked up the slack in such a big way during the shortages, now we're on their radar and they don't like it.
And which, by the way, let me make this point. People miss this a lot. When we did pick up the slack of the GLP-1s because there was a shortage, that has only helped the popularity of their now commercially available drug that's now supposedly not on shortage.
Yeah.
So we have then again turned around and helped them get this information out even more so with this, and they still want to try to treat us like this. So it's unfortunate, but it's injustice, and my word is truth and trust, and so that does erode on that. Here's the good news, and again, because we've given a lot of
it's truth.
I don't want to say
sometimes
bad
the
news.
Truth hurts.
Sometimes the truth hurts, but we're in the fight.
Yeah.
We are very much dialed into talking to the right people in DC. We've worked with our lobby group, which, by the way, this your audience should know, Alliance for Compounding. You can do apc.org, or it's a4pc.com. They are a great organization that has done a fantastic job representing compounders across the United States. They're working on the state level. They work on the federal level. There's a lot of really good coalition going in there, but you can have the audience go to learn more about compounding these bills that we're talking about, where they can. There's a bill in Indiana right now. There's one in Colorado. There's another one in Mississippi, Kentucky, Georgia, and these are all these state level bills that if you can just go on there, they make it very simple to oppose this Senate bill number this or that or the other, that's what makes the difference on whether or not we're going to be able to continue to have individualized medicine, individualized medications, compounded medications that practitioners can utilize to really help patients get better.
And it's a midterm election year, and understand what your legislators are for and against. That's really important too.
Yeah, no, they listen. And again, I don't care. Again, another thing I say all the time, your cells the health of your cells do not know Democrat or Republican.
That's right.
They don't know right or left. They don't know red or blue. They know whether they're healthy or not.
Right.
And we as clinicians, we as medical providers, we as a medical organization, compounding pharmacies need to be able to provide medication to patients that allow those cells
Yep.
to stay healthy.
That's right.
Whether they're blue or red.
Yeah.
Whether they're right or left.
Hey, here's what's crazy about blood cells is they're blue until they get oxygen and then they're red. So, never thought about that, did you?
Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Well, keep up the fight, although it is challenging at times because it does consume us. And primarily, you said it already, because our heart is for patients and practitioners and medical freedom. So keep up the fight. And
Absolutely. Well, until next time.
Yeah. Wonder Twin Powers. Activate.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dr. Terri Show. It is truly my heart's desire to help people to bring awareness to key issues affecting our health, both mentally, spiritually, physically, financially. So if today's episode was helpful to you, would you please share this podcast with others? This information is vital for helping our country heal and restore our health, and we would be honored if you would pass it along to your friends and family. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any content from the show, and if your life has been improved by the show, please leave us a review below. We would love to hear from you. See you next time.